Hey, good morning, everybody. Trisha Turner here with another episode of Anything But Average, Achieving Success in Life. I have this amazing female business owner right here. I have Hollie Kitchens with me. Good morning, Hollie.
Good morning, Trisha. How are you, girl? Super excited to be here.
I am awesome. Thank you for coming. Of course, this is going to be another episode where everybody gets to hear a little bit about you, your story, your success secrets, some strategies, and kind of get to know Hollie Kitchens a little bit and how you got to where you are and maybe where you're going. So tell everybody, please, where you are in the United States, what you do for a living, and a little bit of your backstory.
Perfect. So right now we are in Dallas, so North Dallas, Texas. Currently working on, I'm a licensed real estate agent, but my main focus is going to be like rebranding, branding, podcasting, all the good, exciting stuff that really help people, get known in their marketplace, kind of establish that authority. And, I help people with DIY methods, helping them. Maybe they have a big, huge passion for small business owners who maybe don't have enough resources to hire somebody. So helping small business owners with the DIY methods, and then also working on some like done with you methods, and then some done for you marketing materials. Also a co-founder of Women Elevation, which is a women's group of empowerment. So, I have a huge passion for small business owners, specifically women small business owners. So that's really kind of what I'm doing in a nutshell. And then backstory, grew up in small town Oklahoma, population 1,300. I know. And I'm pretty sure majority of those people were like old people, like senior citizens. So like podunk town, like you guys watch Tiger King. I can just see it, but like that's like my small hometown, like like
crazy.
Just to put it in perspective, 100%. That's how it is in small towns in Oklahoma. So grew up small town, low income housing. We just did as much as we could. Shout out to my mom. She was a single mom of 4, so she did the best that she could. Mm-hmm. So, growing up, we always had, I think the consistent thing that we always had in our life was music. So we would always be jamming music, and it was just a huge, important part of our lives because what else do you do other than, there's nothing too much to do in Rush Springs, Oklahoma. So,
so is that where you met John, your husband?
No, I met him in a lot in Oklahoma. So not that small town. No, it's a bigger town in Oklahoma, but not it's definitely not a size like a Dallas or anything like that.
So you guys were in Oklahoma. When did you go to Dallas?
So I think we moved here in 2013 or 14.
Okay.
It was 14 maybe.
So what led you to this like female explosion, this entrepreneur thing that you're doing? Where did that drive come from?
So, just growing up and having the ability to never really having somebody there, I guess you should say. It's like not really much of a support system. And like I said, my mom was a single mom of 4. So I've always been I've always been attracted to like small crowds and like meaningful crowds with that, just because of, I just learned the hard way. Like, you get to know who's there for you at the end of the day. And, I wanted to take that and turn it to something. And then Tracy had the same vision as well. And it's funny because the birth of Women Elevation is we were at Digital Marketer, their event, Trafficking Conversion in San Diego. And we were, it was with Tracy, Jason, John, and I, and we were standing and we're like, okay, well, it's break time. Let's, go to the bathroom breaks. And then we were laughing because we're like, ha, 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 you guys have a longer line than us. But then we start getting inside of the bathroom. We're like, wait a minute, like, that's not a good thing. Cause usually the women's line is like a huge line, and then the men's line's a quickly go one. So then we were like, wait a minute, where are like the women in, you know what I mean? Like, I know they're out there. There's tons of women that need to be at this event. So we kind of said, like, what can we do to create a community of women who is empowering, who's encouraging? Maybe we could take trips and go to these conferences together. Because I know as a female, it's kind of intimidating to go, hop on an airplane, go across the country to a predominantly male event. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like how it all kind of came together. All the pieces were there. We just kind of put them together.
That is so cool, though. So before all of that, you were kind of an introvert, weren't you?
Very much so. Very much so. I really embrace the role of being behind the scenes, being quiet. Growing up, I've had some experiences when attention was on me, it was negative because of the clothes that we didn't have or the nice things we didn't have. So I tried to fly under the radar because I kind of told myself, it's like, okay, attention equals negative, thoughts, because that's the negative experience that I'd gotten. So I really embraced the behind the scenes. Even when I got into real estate, my first brokerage was Jay Kinder Real Estate Experts, which was fantastic for me because Jay was the face of the company. I didn't have to, you know what I mean? I can help my clients, and that's all I have to worry about. I don't have to be the face of it. And really embrace the whole, even back in high school, when people were going to parties, I was on MySpace, behind the screen kind of, because I could walk away.
Just hiding then.
Yeah. So I think that's really what helped me kind of effectively communicate on social media and kind of build my, marketing skills, my HTML. I had one of those super obnoxious profiles. So yeah, I just took that introvert, all those experiences kind of turned me into an introvert. And then as I became a business owner, when I launched the boutique, I tried so hard to hide behind a logo because I didn't want people knowing who I was. Even when I took product pictures, the pictures would be of just the clothes. It would my face would be in the picture. It was just the funniest thing because I didn't want that attention on me. So I hired an e-commerce coach because I know, like you, I'm a huge firm believer in coaching. If we want to get to the next level, we've got to be coached by the best.
Yep.
So I hired an e-commerce coach, and he had asked me a question that really kind of struck hard to me. It was what are you doing differently than Amazon? Because I was an online boutique. And I'm like, that's so true, because you can go on Amazon, you can go on Target, you can go wherever online and buy Guns N' Roses shirts for $12.
Yep.
Why would they buy a $20 shirt from me? So, having that decision of understanding is okay, so the only thing that I have got different right now than Amazon is me. Amazon doesn't have me.
No.
And, just taking all the principles, everything that I've learned from the years of being in the business and saying, okay, if you really want to truly be a business owner, you've got to get over yourself. You've got to embrace, you know what I mean? Showcase your personality, really kind of dial in who you are. And that's whenever I started podcasting, because long story short, the content that I was going to start putting out for it was, interviewing musicians. And that was the podcast that was launched, tied back into the rock and roll boutique that I had launched. So I love
that. That is cool as crap.
Yeah, kind of building that community and kind of really throwing myself out there. And yeah, it was, I'm not going to lie. It's still to this day, it's still hard for me to kind of put myself out there, but it's come on, Hollie, you got this.
Because you were behind the scenes for so long. And, when you're behind the scenes, just like when you're writing an email to somebody, you can, bitch them out in this email because it's not like a face-to-face. You're not having to confront them. You can say anything, but then when you have to get in their face, you're like, I'm speechless right now, So for you behind the scenes, it was really probably good to just go all out. But then when you actually have to get on camera, like you are right now, and out there talking about yourself, promoting your products, I'm sure there had to have been a huge fear factor there.
100%. Yeah. And I think that's why I loved social media back in the days, because you could literally showcase who you were and what you thought inside without the fear of rejection or stumbling over your words or saying the wrong thing. And then but now that translates into today's society where it's especially right now during these times, it's social media is the great way to connect with people. So it's almost it's funny how it comes full circles, and it's back then it's my mom would always be get off the computer, go outside, play with your friends. And now I'm okay, Mom, I told you this stuff would work out at the end because I didn't realize all that.
Mm-hmm. So do you remember a million years ago when the first technology came around where you had to put a profile pic up and you had to put a picture of yourself? Not everybody did. Some people have no picture, or they'd have an image of something. Did you have your picture up, or did you have an image?
No, I did have a picture of myself up, but however, all my profiles were definitely private. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't I let very few people into my circle, for sure.
So with that fear factor and knowing you needed to step out and be the face of it, what did you do, or what were some of the things that you did to face those fears?
So I think I just kind of eased into it because for instance, with podcasting, the great thing about that is, you're meeting people face to face, and I could totally do groups of 5 or less. That's perfectly, I mean, like that's great for a podcast interview, but then you can turn around and release it into audio only. So like that kind of helped me kind of get over that fear of, okay, so it's like it's audio only, and you know what I mean? Like people aren't going to see my face completely. They'll just know who's like the voice. And so just baby steps, and then just being, all the time going live, getting used to, doing things like this, like, even FaceTime. I know that sounds crazy, but even getting on the phone and doing FaceTime gets you more comfortable with camera, gets you more comfortable with conversations. And then of course, just personal growth books and mindset books, kind of understanding like, okay, Holly, you're not a doctor. No one's going to die. You like, thank goodness, like no one's life is in your hands right now. What's the worst that can happen? Okay, the worst that's going to happen is I make a fool of myself. Okay, no one's going to die. And the next 10 minutes, somebody else will make a fool of themselves. So it'll be on to the next. So just understanding that it's like not the end of the world. And you almost owe it to not yourself, but your clients too, and your customers, because they want to know who's behind the logo. They want to know your core values. They want to know what you stand for. I mean, when you start really being authentically yourself and unapologetically yourself, you start attracting the people that want to do business with you, that want to work with you. And at the end of the day, who wants to work with people who don't like who they are? You know what I mean? So.
One thing that I do that helps, and I tell people this, and it dawned on me a couple of months ago. My mom passed away 10 years ago, and so I loved my mom. She was one of my best friends. But I have like one video of her, and really it's from her funeral. My younger brother put it together, and it's really just images put together with music. It's not really my mom, so I don't really have anything of her talking, of her doing anything in video format. And I was telling my son the other day, because he and I had this conversation. He's like, "You're on social media like all the time. There's a lot of video content." And I told him, I go, "Do you know, part of this brings me so much joy, because when I'm dead and gone, you guys will have my voice forever. You'll always be able to look back and see your mom and hear your mom, and your kids will be able to. I don't have that." And so I tell people that when we're doing video, I'm like, if you're uncomfortable, think of it like that. Like, look what you're leaving for your kids,
Yeah. I love the legacy part of it. And it's like, like same, like thinking back, obviously, I'm grateful to have the opportunity to have my mom and, doing videos and stuff with her, but like thinking about her mom, like my grandma, like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I think I know what her voice sounds like, but at the end of the day, what do we have that's legacy? Cause like now my kids won't even know. They never got the opportunity to meet her. So yeah, that's a great point. I love that.
And so with you guys, because you're so into tech, and that's where the world is headed to, with your kids too, you can help them be all that they can be and exceed in things that most people can't, because you guys, you and John both are like so tech, especially you,
Yeah. It's so funny. It's like our 8-year-old, it's crazy to think our 8-year-old, he was begging whenever I think he was like 6, he was begging for a YouTube channel. Again, the whole me, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many weirdos out there, this and there. So he finally got me to say, okay, yes, you can have a YouTube channel. I'm just, of course, don't say your real name. Don't give your address. Well, the whole safety. Yeah. Don't talk to strangers, whatever. Yeah. And it's so crazy because he's 8, and then now he has his little YouTube channel, and he creates his own thumbnails. He creates his own videos. He'll sit there and make stop motions and upload them, and then put background music to it.
Oh, wow.
Like John was, it's funny. It's like last night we were sitting on the couch and then, going through Canva, because I taught Zane Photoshop and I taught him Canva, because I'm like, Photoshop is good to know for like certain aspects, but then Canva is super great because it's like quick. And John was 8. And John was like, I'm going to put you to work. Like, I'm going to hire you to come work for me. Because it's like the crazy stuff that he's doing. Like, it's crazy to see how technology, how fast it is. Because like when I was 8, I might have had like stuffed animals. I don't know.
Right. And I remember like when I was 8, I think watching the Jetsons, and I remember them, doing like we're doing right now, talking to the telephone, but they could see each other. Yeah. And I remember thinking that'd be the craziest thing if we actually could see each other when we're on the phone. Look. 2020.
Here we are.
Who would have thought? Isn't that crazy?
So crazy.
Yeah. And so with you, your business has like taken off. You're really doing like now you're doing podcast coaching even, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Tell everybody a little bit about that.
So, it's funny. It's like whenever I launched my podcast, and I'm a huge fan of podcasting just because it's a great way for you to create your own show, make it all about you, whatever you want, whatever you stand for. You can, host, you can have people on, whatever. It's your own platform. So when I started the podcast, me and my friend, we started a podcast, and people started taking notice, and they're like, wait, that's so cool. Like, they started looking at you differently. And I'm like, it's not that hard, you guys. Like, it's not, you just got to make time to, create the content. Obviously, like, that's the hard work right there, is like, the content aspect, but it's not hard, like, technically, to do it. And had all these people inboxing me and was like, how do I do it? I'm thinking about doing it. Is it hard? So I launched last year my business podcast, Unleash Your Inner Legend. And during that time, I was like, you know what? I'm going to document this entire process. I'm going to screen record, because like, I can tell people all day long how to do it.
Yeah.
But if I actually walk them through it, like, that's just how I am. I'm a visual learner and at the same time doing it myself.
Yep.
So I documented the whole entire process, and I spliced together, I think it was like maybe an hour or so video of like from like thinking through your why to execution of launching your podcast. Sent that video out to all these people who are asking, and none of them launched a podcast from that. So I was like, what am I doing wrong? Like, obviously, you know what I mean? Like, I knew that the whole entire thing was there for them to do it. I knew that the process was there, but like, then I started thinking, like, obviously something's wrong in that process of that system that I sent them to that video. So then I started thinking through, and I even sent it to John, because John was like talking. I'm like, here you go. And to this day, John just still doesn't have a podcast. And I'm like, why is that? Because for one, John doesn't have the time to sit there and really kind of think, you know what I mean? For two, it's like, no one's there. I mean, obviously I'd be there, but like, no one's there in the process for a lot of these people to hold them accountable, to help them. So during whenever COVID had hit, and, podcasting starts speaking, stages are eliminated, essentially. You can't go on a physical stage and speak. No. Obviously, we're seeing a bunch of awesome virtual events happening. But then it's like, okay, what's another stage? Well, podcasting is another stage, another opportunity to start going out there, building your authority, building, your credibility, all that good stuff, as well as delivering content. So I'm like, okay, now is a perfect time to launch. If I want to do anything, now's a perfect time. So I created a group coaching, because I was thinking, like, wait a minute, like, I'm overwhelming. I'm taking the fire hose and just spewing at people and say, launch a podcast.
Yeah.
So from that, I broke it down. I'm sorry?
You were like, just do these things, and then they don't do them.
Yeah, well, that's because it was an overwhelm, and then there's no accountability. So it's like, you know what I mean? And then they're like, wait, why am I even doing this? So like, I broke it down into 4 weeks plus a 5th bonus week for post-production. But it's like, each week we're like, okay, this week we're focusing on this. Okay, this week we're focusing on this. And then we have these modules built out. And then on Fridays, we have our group coaching calls. So that's the time to connect, ask me questions. And of course, we have a Facebook group too, so people can drop their questions there as well. Mm-hmm. But it's like, that has had more of a success, because, I think we started out with 30, and I think now we've had a good committed, I want to say 15.
That's awesome.
So then you start seeing people actually like, and then I start getting messages. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so easy. This is so helpful. I'm like, yes. Okay. I finally cracked the code and helping people launch a podcast. So that's what I'm currently doing right now too, I think we're on week 3 right now. So
can people start on that right now, or do they have to wait for your next session? So
they can 100% start on it right now. Just know that they have some catching up to do, because like I said, they're all recorded modules. So that's a great thing. So it's on Facebook. It's just Start Your Own Podcast with Hollie Kitchens. It's a group. Feel free to go through and request. It's a free course, by the way. It's nothing that, you have to pay or anything like that, but it's a free course. Literally, it's from like going through the why, because like week 1 is like one of the most important weeks, because week 1 is the why. So before I say, here's how you start a podcast, we've got to get clear on why you even want to start a podcast, because if you're not clear on your why, you're not setting yourself up for success. You're not going to be really bought into it, or you're going to have, maybe mixed messages going on. You've just got to understand who's your ideal listener, who's the content, or who's going to be listening to it. You know what I mean? Who's going to be consuming this content? So yeah, I mean, like going through that week 1, and then week 2 is going to be the pre-recording phase. You're going to be getting your equipment. You're going to be kind of going through and doing your dream list. Week 3 is going to be your recording phase, where your dream list, your people you've invited the week before, you start interviewing them, you start getting everything rocking and rolling. And then week 4 is going to be launch week, which we start setting up our platforms. We create our Libsyn, our Anchor, or whatever hosting platform that works best for people. And then week 5 is going to be really the announcement, because, Apple iTunes usually takes about 4 days to approve. So launch week is really like the week because you get everything set up and you get it live, but then it takes about a week for everything to kind of get approved and your show to be live.
So you're walking them through the whole thing.
The entire process, yeah, in like just 5 weeks. So, well, really 4, and then that 5th week is just a bonus week. So,
but that's like the coolest thing because look, you can reach an audience of anywhere in the world. Anybody that wants to create a podcast, learn how to do it, learn from you, who's like the master of it, and for free. That's insane.
Yeah, and I think with podcasts too, it's like it can, when used correctly, it can be so powerful. I mean, like if you think about it. And, one of the first questions I get is like, how do you monetize a podcast? And in reality, yeah, you can have sponsorships, but that's really like, people want to listen, make sure you have enough downloads. They want to make sure you have enough viewers. When you're a brand new podcast, you might not have those just yet. You probably won't. So, but one way you can monetize it is being very strategic on utilizing your platform. So for instance, if you are in real estate and you are looking to start building up the builder pillar of your business, what's a great way to get in front of these builders other than, the whole like, oh, I'm going to drop by my business card and then they're going to throw it in their trash because you are just like every other real estate agent dropping by to try to earn their business? Or do you go straight to the builder themselves and say, hi, builder, I have a podcast. It's Unleash Your Inner Legend. I love to sit down and talk with you and hear your story, hear what you're doing for the community, everything like that. And then, of course, would the builder take your appointment because you are a host of a podcast looking to share their story and highlight them in the community, or because you're bringing some cookies by and some business cards? Like, it's all about, like, they're going to take you a lot more serious and a lot more professional whenever they say, oh, you're a podcast host, and oh, wait, why you want to talk to me? So then they're going to start building that rapport, and then, you hit the record button, do your content, but then after the record button, it's like, what do you do with that relationship? What do you do with that post-production, relationship, those contacts? You start building your Rolodex. I mean, even from our music podcast to my business podcast, it's like there's such a big Rolodex of professionals, and you just never know when worlds will collide. For instance, like for the music podcast, like right now I'm working on gearing up and getting some more content because that's been kind of back burner versus business. It's kind of like a hobby type, entertainment type thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm back going. So I, search a list of, okay, so who should I have on the podcast? I'm going to have, obviously right now tours are not happening. There's no live music right now.
No.
So I'm like, okay, right now tours should be them trying to promote their new albums. Mm-hmm. So I go through and I say, okay, who dropped an album in 2020? Get your list of who has dropped an album. Obviously their tours have stopped. So now it's reaching out to them and saying, hey, I'd love to have that opportunity to be on the podcast so we can talk about the new album, this, that, and the other. And then that's going to be a way to promote them. So did that to a band. And one of the guys said, yes, I'd love the opportunity to. And then I start talking to him and he's like, yeah, I told him I was from Oklahoma or whatever. He's like, oh, wait, I'm in Oklahoma a lot. I'm like, wait, why? What brings you to Oklahoma? And he's like, cannabis industry, because it's legal there now. And I'm like, got it. But now I know commercial real estate agents who are in Oklahoma that focus specifically on cannabis growers. So now I have the opportunity to connect. So you just never know. That one interview could spiral down into, and then also like my sister, she's looking into getting more into it and stuff like that. She's a grower or something like that. But she's now, I have a connect with her. I have a connect for a real estate agent. I have all these different connects in all these different ways, all from one simple request. So you just never know what's going to aspire from a podcast episode. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know what, like the key word was that you said in there was relationships.
Mm-hmm.
If when you think about it, like the common denominator in so many things now is relationships.
Yeah.
Even though it may be virtual and you may not even get face to face with them, some of us in our core group within the XP, as we're like the best of friends and we don't even get to see each other but once or twice a year. Isn't that crazy?
I think it's awesome.
It's the coolest thing in the world ever. Mm-hmm. I was on with Chuck Fazio the other day and we talked for a long time before and after we were live. And he's like, it's so crazy. Like, I'm so connected to him, but I've never met him face to face, but he's a dear friend of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's what it is, like attract likes, right? So like you guys have both very similar, goals, very similar morals, very similar everything. And all because of that, cultivating that relationship and really, being interested Now
Yes.
look at the relationships you're starting to have and establish, and it's just crazy the amount of opportunity.
Well, like I think about it, it's like when prior to virtual and everything being on the internet, you'd have local relationships, and pretty much that's what you were limited to, unless your friends moved away and then you're friends with them in another state. But now with everything virtual, like when you're doing a podcast, you're interviewing people, you're hearing their story, you're getting to know them. You're at first it's a business thing because you're interviewing them, but then you're engaging with them because you're listening to their story and you connect. It's insane.
100%. Yeah, it really is. But I think too, it's like where we miss out too, is like, and the great thing is like, I know obviously you don't have that problem or else, you wouldn't be doing this, but it's like, unfortunately, a lot of people allow their ego to reach out to people or allow, like negative thoughts or, limiting beliefs from doing something. It's like, you guys, like with so much technology we have available, no one is unreachable. No one is unconnectable. Like, reach out, connect with these people, start collaborating, because you just never know like where it's going to go. And then just the power of collaboration. I mean, even within our women's group, it's literally a Facebook group, and we all just kind of, now we start doing Wind Down Wednesdays, and we all get together and chat. But it's like now from that group, we have such a great, tight-knit, strong women who, like, if we needed something or if we just say, hey, I need help with this, they're all in. So it's like, everyone having each other's backs, but it's like understanding too, when you start developing these relationships, you've got to think about the relationship bank. Instead of just making withdrawals, you've got to start also putting deposits in too. So it's like, how are you helping that relationship? How are you cultivating that relationship so that it's healthy, so that whenever, they need something, they feel comfortable reaching out to you, and vice versa.
Yeah. And it's like with podcasting, like what you're doing with this internet thing. I think back when my oldest son, who's 22 now, when gaming first became real popular and everyone would wear headsets, and he'd be gaming with his friend who was, 3 doors down or whatever, but not in the same house. They're talking to each other. And I used to tell him, I just don't get that. That's crazy. Why don't y'all hang out together? And he's like, Mom, we are. And I'm like, no, he's in your ear. You're not hanging out. But that's what we do.
That's what we're doing right now.
It's like, I'm hanging out with you, but you're in Dallas.
100%. It's so insane. I love it.
I do too. And so I can't even imagine where the world's going to go. But for moms out there, like what you're doing with your son, I have to commend you for that, because you're setting him up to have a future faster than a lot of people his age. These other parents out there that aren't kind of showing their kids the way the world is going and getting them involved like you are. I feel sorry for them, because it's going to be hard for them, harder.
Yeah, 100%. And I think to me too, it's like, at first as a parent, of course, we always want to protect them and this, that, and the other. But then I'm like, okay, like if I'm not going to teach him how to do all this stuff, like what is he going to be, you know what I mean? Like doing right now, like, obviously reads on the other stuff, but it's like letting that creative side out. Like instead of scribbling in a coloring book or drawing some random drawings, he's now pouring himself into his Facebook or his YouTube channel, and he's doing all these cool things. It's funny. It's like last night he actually taught me something like on Photoshop. Like I've been using Photoshop for like since I was in high school. In yearbook, I used it, and he taught me something last night about making 3D images and how to make the different colors. And I'm like, wait, what? Like this is insane. It's crazy.
Yes, and he's 8. Like he knows way more than I would ever know about. But he would blow me away.
Like it's the crazy. It's super cool too to see him kind of do that, and then he'll go in and aside from even the videos and stuff like that, when it comes to his actual game, like he'll create his own games and do coding and stuff like that too. So I'm like, it makes me all like excited because I'm like, oh, that's what I was, but like I wasn't doing that stuff till I was like 15. Like, like 8. Like it's just insane to see it.
I love that. So for Hollie Kitchens, what does the future look like? Are you going to continue podcasting, growing your audience? What does it look like for everybody to know?
100% podcasting, both from an entertainment perspective and as well as a business perspective, just because like that's my passion. I think that's my creative outlet. That's to me, podcasting is a great way for me to stay connected, stay creative, and kind of stay sharp. Absolutely will continue the podcasting journey. As far as other things too as well, definitely be focusing on helping other people with their podcasts as I'm doing now, but then also taking it to the next level and saying, how can I help you post-production? How can I help you after you launch it? And then also working with, I know with Kat, we've been doing some super cool stuff with her commercial clients, taking their clients and going them through either a rebrand process. So say that they're moving into an upper a more luxury location, they've got to do a rebrand. So we're walking through the rebranding process, or say that they're just moving to another space or whatever, but they still need that branding presence. And it's so crazy how many people are out there that don't have an online presence. So focusing in on podcasting and focusing in on branding and rebranding and helping other businesses out there really showcase who they are, so that people understand the people behind the company, not necessarily just the company.
I love that. Tell everybody where they can find both your podcasts, anything about Hollie Kitchens. How can people hook up with you?
Perfect. So I made it super simple because there's so many different platforms out there. Everyone likes their own way. If you just head over to holliekitchens.com, that's HOLLIE kitchens.com. I'll have all that information there to subscribe, to connect, all that good stuff.
For just to close it out, if you had to give somebody one piece of advice, what would you tell them if they were thinking about starting a business or a podcast? What would you say?
I would say make sure whatever you do it with something that you have a passionate about, because you don't want to do it just for somebody else, or you don't want to do it just because it feels good or that the money's there. Because what's going to happen is, if you don't do something that you're extremely passionate about, you're going to burn out so fast, or you might not even ever start it. So just find something you're truly passionate about. There's so many different opportunities out there when it comes to, say you're passionate about music, say you're passionate about real estate, whatever it is, find something that you're passionate about, find a niche within it, and then just go for it. Utilize your resources. You guys go through your Facebook friends. There's more than enough people out there in the world that's willing to help you get started. Don't allow limiting beliefs or, fake stories in your head prevent you from just going out there and doing what you're passionate about.
I love that. Thank you so much for spending the morning with me.
Yes, girl. Thank you so much for having me on. It was fun.
Yeah, definitely. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye, you guys.